Sometimes you just look around and you think, there is nothing in this house for dinner. I'll show you in this video how I use fresh seasonal produce, these apples. I'll use them as the base ingredient to create an entire meal that's a main dish, salad, side dish, and also a dessert for around $1 per person. This is probably one of the #1 questions that we get on this channel is, how do you keep your grocery budget so ultra low? One of the things that you do is you look for seasonal produce, because when it's in season, that's when you're going to get the best prices on it. But one of the other things is to take something like the apples that I just showed you. Most people are going to look at these apples and say, well, you put a bowl of them out on the table and the kids grab one for dessert after lunch or dinner, or maybe you put it in your oatmeal in the morning. But one of the things I want to show you is how to take something like an apple, which traditionally people think of as being something sweet, and mix it with some other ingredients to make it a main dish that is more savory than it is sweet. Let's talk about apple, onion, and butternut squash quesadillas. We're going to start with some homemade tortillas. Now, most people buy the little round tortillas from the grocery store. Nothing wrong with that. I sometimes buy them too for convenience sake when I find them at a really great price. These tortillas are so easy to make, and they're about 5 cents each. Now, the fact that they're not completely and totally round, I really like to think of that as being an artistic statement. Artistic rather than something that is not completely round. Just change your mindset and all of a sudden you'll like your tortillas that are not completely and totally round. We're going to take a tortilla. This is butternut squash. Butternut squash is also in season. Right now, butternut squash, you can get a butternut squash for $1.50 per squash at Kroger. Now, I did all of the math on all of the recipes I'm going to show you, and you'll see exactly what each recipe cost us per portion. And then at the end, I'll show you exactly what everything costs per person when we put everything together. This is about half of a butternut squash. Now, one of the tips with butternut squash, because butternut squash seems like a time commitment, right? Because you're like, I don't know, I got to cut it up, I got to put it in a roasting pan, I got to put it into the oven. I will tell you the easiest way I have found to make butternut squash. It is so fast, simple, and easy to do it in your Instant Pot. Seriously, you wash it, you cut it in pieces, and then you put it in the pressure cooker for 10 minutes, and you don't even have to let it naturally release. You just release the steam right away. It is the perfect consistency. This 1/2 of the butternut squash, so it's about 75 cents of butternut squash. And I figured, like all of the recipes for 4 people, this clearly, I feel like this is enough butternut squash for a whole lot more than 4 quesadillas. Quesadillas traditionally have something that hold the quesadilla together. And most people are going to use cheese to do that. Well, we're plant-based, so we're not going to use cheese. But the other thing to take into consideration is how much are the ingredients in your recipes costing, like per ingredient. And you can add some things that add a little bit to the cost of that recipe. But overall, I like to veer toward mostly low-cost ingredients and then save just a couple of maybe little add-ins that are maybe a little higher priced than most of the other ingredients in the recipe. That is going to hold this quesadilla together. So just a nice thin layer. This is caramelized onion. Caramelized onions are really full of flavor. Some people add maybe a little bit of balsamic vinegar at the end, which is fine to do because you want something that gives it a little bit of kick of flavor at the very end. It takes about 25 minutes to caramelize. This was 2 they weren't really small, I'd say medium onions. So it does, like, it shrinks a lot, but it's really full of flavor. And I put like a tablespoon or so, two tablespoons, I'm gonna say, of soy sauce at the very end. And that gives it kind of that salty umami flavor at the very end. And we like that a lot. Now, our star ingredient, you remember the apples, right? I sliced them super thin. And I'm just gonna lay them on here. It doesn't matter that they're pretty, but for my sake, I feel, does anybody else feel like, I really like food to look pretty? All right, we got a nice layer of and I am gonna fold this over, and that encases that. Now, I'm gonna make a couple more of these, and then we're gonna head to the stove, and I'm gonna show you how to cook them. big nonstick skillet, super hot. I am gonna spray it with a little bit of Pam. You probably don't have to. Ooh, that's steaming. I'm gonna turn down the heat just a little bit because you don't want it to burn. Okay. But I don't want it to stick either. So to err on the side of caution, I am going to spray the Pam on there. But you don't have to. That is totally optional. With a good nonstick skillet, honestly, these shouldn't stick anyway. All right, I'm gonna get a spatula. Those are gonna cook on each side for probably 2-3 minutes. You're just looking to heat the ingredients up, and you're looking for the outside of that tortilla to just brown a little bit more than it is. It should crisp up a little bit too. It's been 3 minutes. I just flipped them over, and you can see, so hear that. They're getting nice and crispy on the outside. They got that little bit of brown on them. I'm gonna take one of these and put it on a plate for you so you can see. Guys, that's a nice portion. That is a really nice portion. That is our main dish. This is the butternut squash, caramelized onion, apple quesadilla. What is the cost for this quesadilla? We're gonna put the cost right over on that side of the screen when I'm holding this up for you to look at. You will see how much it costs per serving to make this. But we don't want a lonely little quesadilla on a plate. No, of course not. It needs friends. So we are gonna put some protein on the plate, and that is gonna be in the form of some beans. I should have gotten a bigger spoon, guys. This is 1 can of dark kidney beans. I'm gonna talk to you about the kidney beans in just a second. I'm gonna spoon out approximately a 1/2 cup or so onto the plate. Here's why I brought this up. Now, a lot of times I buy beans in huge, like 25-pound bags, because I get it incredibly inexpensively by doing that. But you wanna look for sales to happen on items that are shelf stable, like these beans. These beans were on sale for 49 cents a can last week at Hy-Vee. So we stocked up. Now, when you find something that is a really low price point like that, go ahead and stock up. I didn't want to just serve like cold plain beans either. And you can't tell, but I added a little bit of onion powder, a little bit of garlic powder, and then I also added just a little bit of lime juice. What I was going for is kind of that feel, you know, where you get that 3-bean salad kind of thing going on. But beans are like, think of beans like a blank slate, guys. You can make your beans any kind of flavor profile that you want. All right, our messy beans have been brought mostly under control. What did the beans cost? This lovely little bean side dish, once again. Here's what the beans look like. And over here on the other side of the screen, we are gonna show you the cost breakdown for the beans. But alas, we have an empty space on our plate. What could possibly go in there that would be inexpensive, that would add to our amazing meal? A side salad, of course. This is romaine lettuce salad. I'm gonna tell you exactly what I did to make the salad. Here's what I got. 3 heads of romaine. I got them on markdown at Kroger for $1.80 for 3 heads. I cut up 2 of them, put them in here. Now, for me, when you're making a salad, really what you're talking about is your greens, and then you want to add some color and you want to add some texture. It depends on your price point of your add-ins, right? So if you want to add some texture in the form of, let's say, some walnuts, that's a pretty high add-in. So you want to look around your house, especially if you're trying to get this plate of dinner down to $1 or less per serving. So $1 or less per person. I had just a couple of really small tomatoes, so I cut those up. I had like half of a cucumber. I did a little bit of really finely chopped onion, and then there's the star of our show. There's one of the apples that we bought, and you can see it added some really nice color to the salad. Now this salad is already dressed. I figured that I'm going to show you how to make the salad in a hot second, or the dressing in a hot second here. I figured 5 servings for this salad, and so you get a really generous amount of salad on the plate when you consider that this is 5 servings of salad. So that really nicely fills up the plate. I'll show you what the salad breakdown in price is, and then I'll show you what the whole plate cost is. But first, that salad dressing, how did we do it? To make salad dressing, I make it from scratch all the time. Very rarely do you ever see a bottled dressing in my house because I really like control of salt and I like to control the fat and the oil that is in the salad. I don't use oil for salad dressings. I use about 1/2 cup of good balsamic vinegar. This is from Costco. It is my fave balsamic vinegar. It's about $9. And this, to me, this tastes on par with some of the really expensive balsamic vinegars that I have tried. About 1/2 cup of that. And then I do 1/4 cup of sweetener. Now, I really like to use real maple syrup in this, once again, because of the cost factor. When you're trying to figure out your cost per person to eat a meal and you want it at that dollar amount or under, sometimes you have to make some substitutions. So I used table sugar, 4 tablespoons of table sugar instead of the real maple syrup. And then I do 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. Once I had just probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 tablespoons of water, then I add a little bit of granulated garlic, a little bit of onion powder, and then I add just a few drops of lime juice, and it's bottled lime juice, so it's the cheap stuff. It's the cheap lime juice. It is not like real limes that I'm juicing.
Oh, I think it looks really good.
All right, so what did the salad cost? I'm gonna hold up the salad once again so you can see the finished salad. I'm gonna put my tongs down. Put the salad right up here. That's what the salad looks like. And how much did the salad cost us to make? Once again, the ingredient breakdown is going to be right there on that side of the screen. You're going to see how much it costs per ingredient and what the cost is per serving. Now, the entire cost of this plate of food is indeed just a smidge under $1 per serving. So with that in mind, I thought, we're doing apples. Apples are indeed, they can be savory. I showed you that, but they can also be sweet. And I think there's nothing better after eating a meal like this than to add a little dessert. So I thought, let's make a little bit of apple dessert. 5 apples, cut them up, put them into your crock pot, add just 2 tablespoons of butter or margarine, then add some cinnamon and add about 1/2 cup of brown sugar. And then it was supposed to be on high for about 2.5 hours. I forgot about it, guys. It's been on high for 4 hours. So it's very well cooked. Now, this cooked down probably more than I thought it would. This is going to be 4 servings. So you're going to get probably a nice little dish full. Maybe I'd say you get it. I'll put it in a dessert cup for you so you can see how much you're going to get of this. But how much did our lovely caramelized apples in the crock pot cost us? Once again, there's the apples right there. And on the other side of the screen, I'm going to show you what this yummy, luscious dessert cost. Here's our apples. Now, once again, in a perfect world, I would probably, well, if I did dairy, I would probably do a little scoop of vanilla ice cream on top, or a little bit of whipped cream, or even a little bit of yogurt. But that would once again take our price per person up. But this stuff is really yummy. How did I do it over again? I gave a little bit of a taste test. 1/2 cup of sugar was a lot of brown sugar to put in here. I probably would have cut that brown sugar back a little bit. All right, once again, the whole meal. And if we include dessert, I'm going to show you that, yes, indeed, there is the price breakdown right on the other side of me, on the other side of the screen. And it is a little bit over $1 per person. But I feel like, guys, this is a meal that honestly, if we were having company come over, I would do a whole bunch of these quesadillas and I would probably make this in a little bit more bulk and maybe serve it like buffet style or something. I feel like this is something you can serve to your family and friends, and it's incredibly inexpensive. But here's the deal. You got to know how to stretch ingredients. You need to know how to shop markdowns. You need to know how to think outside the box when it comes to ingredients and turning them into something that you would just eat an apple after maybe your noon meal and turn that into something that is going to stretch to feed more people, and it's going to be far less expensive to do it that way. Now, if you are enjoying this video, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up if this has been helpful to you, and make sure that you share it with your friends and family, just like you're going to share this food with your friends and family. And if you're waiting for more recipe ideas, I have another video. It's right over there. Go watch it next.
Hey, where's my dessert?
Crock pot.
Crock
In the
pot?
crock pot, Larry.
Crock
Look
pot?
in the crock pot.
Inside here?
It is in the crock pot.
Ooh, wonderful. Okay, we'll go to the crock pot.